Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple pumps and fountains I made for outdoor ambiance, I guess. The first one, you can kind of see there's a little white thing floating, and then in the back there's a mooring stake, and it's a rope, and all this grass has just been recent, probably in the last 3 months, but there is a pump out there, or a fountain I made. So I put it on a little remote. I got like a 4-channel remote. Here's just one of them. This is this channel number 3. When I hit it, it'll go and turn on. In this water, normally that white stake way out there is completely covered. This is the dry season in Florida, so you don't get much rain. But during the summer, this whole thing, all the way up to here, where that fence line is, will be water. Right now you can walk pretty much all the way out to where the grass starts. So it's simply a sump pump with a pull float, like a buoy. You can get it at a boat store or whatever, and then a PVC head, and I threaded it on, just a 1/2-inch head, drilled 4 separate holes, and just trying out different heads. You can try out whatever. I had one that just went left and right, and one that just went straight up like a geyser, and now I tried this 4-pattern one. Let's see, zoom in a little bit. I'm probably 20 feet away, so it shoots up, makes a gentle noise, and I haven't cleaned this thing for about 6 months, so it's got an intake, and it sucks up all the muck from this creek, and of course you got to clean it every now and then. It's just a sump pump from Home Depot, $45. I think it's one of the cheaper ones you can get, 110 volt, and it's just temporary to see if I like it. So it's been 6 months. Right now I run that out on a cord. I can show a separate video how I made that someday. Right now it's just the connections are inside this shoebox. I have a little rock on top of, and then I can later on make it more permanent. But I didn't want to go through all the effort of trenching the line. So you can see the extension cord just here. It's hooked up to a 12-amp breaker circuit, an outdoor circuit. And then this is the secondary one. So this all connects as well to this. This is just a simple vertical fountain. I couldn't find anything like this online that I wanted, so I made it. It's a simple frame, 2x4 frame, 24 by 36, and it has it's a Home Depot HVAC plenum galvanized sheet metal. You can buy it in a sheet like this. It's usually on like the bottom shelf in the HVAC aisle, so it's a solid piece. That way you don't have to do anything to it. Use some zip screws and screwed it in. And then this container is my 3rd iteration of this. So the first container, Dollar Tree, little garden. They said in French it was flower garden, and they were galvanized, and it was great. It was $1, and it had exact dimensions I want, so I built it like that, and go figure, they rotted out, so the connection rotted, and so now I'm on my 2nd iteration. The 2nd iteration was just shoe boxes. You get them at Walmart, 88 cents a piece. Drill some holes in, put those vents or those drains, and it works fine. 3rd iteration is I didn't like looking at all that gunk, and it would get clogged up. So I spray painted it black because I had some leftover spray paint, and then I put some screen on top. So let me turn off that fountain because it's kind of annoyingly loud. There we go. Okay, so this one is simply like a 3-tier, and it shoots out to the side like this, and I put a valve in line, a ball valve, just straight up normal one you can get in the Home Depot, like an irrigation valve, or you can use it for interior plumbing. 3/4 inch, I should say 1/2 inch, flexible hose, not PEX, just regular like drain hose, and it simply pumps up here, fills up this guy, drip, 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 and then drains back into a big bucket. This was a clearance giant pot. It's a plastic one at, I want to say, like Ace, for like $4, and it's huge. It's as big as the one anyone else I've seen. So I was like, well, let's just put the pump in there. took some leftover screen I had. You could probably use burlap or anything really, just to keep some of the gunk out, the trees crap that falls in there, and then made a frame out of I had some styrofoam left over, so I just made a ring and stapled it to it. It is by no means permanent, but it's been there for 8 months now, and those 8 months have kept big junk out of it. So what happens is, you know, the cypress tree and all the other stuff, the pine trees, all that stuff falls in and collects on top of there, and I just throw, you know, if I need to, wash it out. I don't really empty this regularly, because it's you can typically the rainwater is actually changing it over in the wet season. In the dry season, there's not much maintenance to do, but I have drained it before with just with a hose, you know, just create a siphon out the water. But anyway, this video is more about this fountain, so I'll turn it on now. It's just number 4, I think, on here. Ooh, that's not the wrong one. Okay, you can hear it kick on, and you can see the water starting to flow. It's going to flow up to the top. Gently fill that up, and then it's going to start. And as it goes, it's going to fill it up, you know, ever so much. Come over. I put these chains on because I found out in the wind, you know, it's some leftover, like, just chain from a planter thing, I don't know, 10 years ago, so I kept it, and it rides that, especially when it gets super windy. And that doesn't happen very often where it blows out, but I started down here with this one because this one has a lot farther to travel. So I was like, well, I got some left over, let's throw it up here, and let's throw that up there. And that way it rides it, keeps it. And I still get the noise that I wanted and the visual without the maintenance of the water leaving, and then you're coming out here filling this thing up every single day. I don't want to do anything with this. I just want it to be left alone. So the second iteration, or third iteration, I said I painted these black, is to put some screen, that leftover screen I had. This is a crap job of cutting. I absolutely didn't do anything of aesthetics here, I would say. I just roughly cut it, maybe fold it over the edge, and then I put hot glue on all these sides. And obviously you can't pull that off now easily. You have to peel off the hot glue. But what I found is that it just keeps all the gunk out. I was getting so much debris, and if this little hole gets clogged, obviously then it fills up and spills over. So it was a maintenance problem. So I said, well, how do I solve that? I put some screen on top of it, just like I did down here. I should have done that first in first iteration, but I wanted to get it up and get it going, so I didn't do that. Now I did it in the third iteration, and I mean, I'm into this whole thing. The pump is definitely the most expensive at $40. The hose maybe $5. The valve is $2. This piece here is $10 of metal. I had the leftover wood, $1 each for the buckets, times 2, because I remember I said I got the metal ones first and screwed up. $3 more, $1 each. At the Dollar Tree, you can find, they look like pitchers, you know, that you put lemonade in and you squeeze the top. And I wanted a valve because it came with it did exactly what it needed. I wanted it to drain, so I took out the little button that you press down, the little white button when you want to get lemonade or whatever, and took the whole valve apart. It's not a valve, it's the guts of the valve, this thing, and it has a gasket on one side and a gasket on the other and a nut. So if you can see it, kinda just hand tight, no tools, no nothing. It had everything I needed, and to build something I didn't have to, you know, test and trial. I knew something that worked, and I wasn't going to pay $5 for each valve just to, you know, say somewhere else and throw away the vessel. $1, and I like the offsetting color, you know, like green and black. You can have paid in this whatever, any color, make it go in, make it match. I'm just trying this out, see what I like. This pump is way more powerful than what this needs, and you can look this up online too. It's just find your pump and find out the volume that it would pump, and typically it's in instead of just the gallons per minute, if you can find it written where it says how many feet of water it will rise up given the diameter. So a 1/2 inch pipe, it'll go I think this one is like 17 feet in the air, way taller than this. So that's why I put this metering valve on the back end here, that ball valve. If you don't do that, this thing's gonna come out freaking full bore and it will completely flood. It's way too powerful. This is meant for some sort of like a waterfall feature, like you put a pond in, you know, and it goes over the edge and it dumps hundreds of gallons an hour. So I meter it with that little ball valve on the side. This is all powered, of course, electricity wise. Wherever you're getting it, you have to have your electricity somewhere when the solar stuff isn't so dependable, you know, unless you have lots of batteries to hold onto and store that. So it was easier for me just to run electricity underground, and I put it in conduit and ran it along the wall back to the source. And then eventually this whole little shoebox, little temporary thing that I've been using for the last 6-8 months will go away. You know, I'll put a more permanent box there, and then underground feed, put conduit in, put another junction box and outlet box for that pump fountain. So these are 2 fountains. There we go, a quick show of it. Adds nice noise out here when you're out here, you know, just sitting and rocking night or playing with the kids. The bird feeders, another, you know, thing to see. Lots of cardinals and other birds come over, blue jays. I added this little mason bee hut because I was trying to get bees around. It was like $8, you know. I didn't have a thick enough piece of wood to drill into to store it. Mason bees need, I think, like at least 5 inches of depth, so woodpeckers' little tongues don't get in there and eat their larvae. So I just bought that on a whim, and I don't know, hoping that more stuff comes to this area. I did all the planting, and now these are just fountains to help maybe promote a little more ambiance and then more wildlife. So those are the iterations I share with you. My faults, you know, about things I screwed up. I'd say at the beginning I should have thought out more. Reasons I put it in, what I wanted out of it, you know, some more ambiance and more wildlife, but also I didn't want to spend a lot of money, right? These are not things that are, at least to me, I want to spend thousands of dollars on or have someone do. I wanted to do it DIY and cheaply, but still be effective. So that's why these are all homemade. I think you can buy lots of vertical fountains of different sizes online, but I couldn't find anything that stepped down like this. I don't know why, I wanted some sort of tiered look that not only went down but came out, so it had dimension to it, and I wanted to do it again cheaply. Those are my sort of prerequisites for this. If I wanted something really cool, like well polished, I would have bought it. But in this case, I wanted to see what I could do with just minimum amount of equipment and relatively little amount of time too. I didn't want to spend, I think I spent a day putting this all together. You know, that includes cutting all the wood, screwing everything together, getting the plumbing, attaching it to this tree, and then maybe a couple days a year in the last 6 months I've done something in terms of maintaining it, you know, replacing those bins like I said, or cleaning out the gunk before I put the screen on, because I got too impatient and just put it on there, not thinking about, oh yeah, all this crap that falls from this tree and everywhere else is going to get in there and clog it up, and it did. So 3rd iteration on that, just small little tweaks. I like it so far, you know. And maybe you don't want something with water, maybe you want something with kinetic motion, like with wind, so you'd make some sort of windmill thing out of old metal. You know, you've seen those things probably around. They're like concentric circles of spinning objects, something to look at. In a future video I'll go over that pump or that fountain in the creek and talk more about it, and hopefully this gives you some ideas. If you have any questions, let me know.